her house, Silva in a car, and then all of these policemen sitting in a police van. So there's nothing really distinguishing the three, and the audio is just kind of one track, just layered over everything else.
Yeah, and but I think one of the things that Silva was a character that never really I didn't know how to root for, because he seems like he's trying his hardest, and people in the sports industry have made successful careers in as actors. John Cena, The Rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
John Cena and The Rock are two of my favorite of those
and
category.
Even LeBron James is starting to kind of slowly make a name for himself as an actor. Trainwreck, he was really funny in that.
I've heard that.
You also have Space Jam 2, so he's got a lot of hype around him as an actor. He's really proved himself.
Yeah.
But
there's the guy in Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Oh, Dave Bautista, that's right.
He's from a similar background as the
WWE?
actor for Silva. Or Silva is the actor, excuse me.
Yeah. But some people just don't make that transition, and unfortunately he's very devoid of emotion in this. Mm-hmm. I mean, this whole entire movie is, but
yeah, and some of that is okay and excusable just because it is an Asian film. And
True.
You and I being white middle class Americans don't necessarily know how to read Asian emotion unless it's really strong emotion or is anime.
But so I feel like my argument with that would be there are parts and moments in this film where as he's kind of recounting the loss of his son, there should be some emotion there.
Absolutely.
When Max Zing,
Zhang, I think.
Jean, however you
Zhang
say
or yeah.
However you say his name, when he is finally face to face with his now dead fiance, there should be emotion there, and there's nothing there.
Well, there's something there, but I don't know that you can call it emotion.
No, his reaction was kind of again, Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah,
was kind of the end of The Room right before his suicide, where he's everyone betrayed me. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I saw in that moment, emotional wise.
Over exaggeration.
Yeah, and this film is full of it. This film just feels like an over exaggerated sense of just martial arts, over the top, editing, action, dubbing. And I think a large portion of that, and I could be wrong, had the filmmaker set out to make a realistic drama, they failed. But
true
on the terms of camp, kind of in the style of
what if it's a supernatural martial arts film?
Yeah, it kind of wins in that regards.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of it personally, but I'm also not always 100% into these camp films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On that note, I think the thing that I did wish they had sort of tried to delve more into would have been the dragon and the dragon tattoo, because it's the name of the film. And it seems like that's where a fair amount of the special effects budget probably went, because they have this really neat
dragon looks
almost Dragon Ball Z looking
gorgeous
thing. If you picture that dragon from that anime series and pull it over into what it might look like if it was in the real world, and then give it 8 more heads,
yeah,
that would be that's what it is. But instead, you just have the dragon interacts with this kid when he's 5, maybe. And this interaction apparently has stuck with him for his entire life. So much so that he's tattooed
a dragon
on his body. And the tattoos don't look bad. Both of us, both you and I, have tattoos. And I, at least, am very interested in art generally. I used to work in an art museum, so I'm not an art critic by any means, but the ink looked like it was real, but there was really no explanation at all.
And then in the end, his tattoos just magically glows.
Yeah,
as he's playing tennis, there is all these heads are just kind of batting back and forth. Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing, but I think kind of to draw it back to the camp, there's one scene in particular where they both rip off their shirts, and
well, Sinclair rips off Kowloon's shirt.
Yeah, and so
then
you see
I don't
this...
remember. Did Sinclair rip off his own
he's
shirt?
like, this is real power, and it's like this like same setup, but it's a snake, and it's like like
that one did not look real to me.
A dragon is going to obliterate a snake, like just kind of like chop him up and eat him for breakfast.
He's gonna swallow him, yeah. Even if the snake has two heads, which it sort of looked to me a little bit like he did. But yeah, just I don't know. The other tattoo that was represented in the film was gorgeous. I will say the cherry blossoms.
Cherry blossom, yeah.
That moment blindsided both of us, I think.
Which is kind of one of the weirdest anomalies, because like it's this really hilarious joke early in the film, and then when it kind of gets fleshed out, you feel sympathy for the lady character.
Yeah, I feel like the doctor kind of the whole time, and this is maybe just another missed opportunity. There's this like psychiatrist that Kowloon is interacting with for most of the film, and she's a fairly important character, I guess. But they don't really explain her. They do have her dad in there really at random times.
Comic relief.
That's exactly what he is. He's very cheesy and it's very funny. But she's kind of after Kowloon to show her his dragon tattoo, kind of from their first real like doctor-patient interaction, and then she brings it up another couple of times, I think.
Which is such a weird desire.
Yeah, well, I think maybe if she is a psychiatrist, maybe it's something to do with she's trying to figure out his mental state.
Probably.
And because she's like part Chinese traditional medicine doctor, which, you know, that's ground up unicorn horn and dragon penis and whatever else they use. Weird stuff. But
yeah. So I guess like coming to the closing of this, our scale of Rorschach rating scale is going to be a 0 to 5. Where would you give Invincible Dragon?
I think it's like a 1.5 to a 2.
Wow, you're so nice.
Well, so I don't like giving things no stars. And I also don't think it's a 1, because I do think a lot of the stunt work it's not shown off to the extent that it could, but again, that feels like somebody's editing choice, the way they sort of chop the movie up. But I like you said, I don't remember if we were recording or not. You said at some point that you're pretty sure there's an audience for this.
Yeah,
and I would agree. I do think there's an audience for this. I don't think you or I are that audience, but there's probably somebody out there that like really digs this movie, or will really dig this movie.
And I mean, more power to them. Like, I mean, but for me, like, I immediately went on Letterboxd right afterwards, and
you did.
I was like, basically, the same way I opened up this podcast was the same way I opened up a quick little paragraph review. And this movie, from its stunt work, really, I would say, is the only redeemable thing about this movie.
Sure.
And the cherry blossom scene. Those two scenes, I think, are the only.
The cherry blossom scene is really redemptive, mostly because that actually was the one place where there's like, oh shoot, there's
actual
a lot
emotion.
of emotion with this.
Yeah.
And it also really like capitalized on that one scene earlier where there was the joke that you and your wife cracked up about immediately.
I don't want to see your US flag as a board.
Oh man. Yeah.
I'm going to go, I think you're right. I think this isn't a 1. I think this is a 0.5. This is just a terrible, painful excuse in filmmaking. But I think it's safe to say is that, like, if you're into, you know, camp, this is going to be a great movie for you. I think, honestly, I think this would be, like, right up someone like the Wu-Tang Clan, like people that like loved like those like 50s and 60s kung fu action movies, like this is right up your alley. I think for me though, it's like the difference that I find between like this and The Room is that The Room has like quotability, like it has it has somewhat of a, as sloppy as it is, a structure to it. Whereas
like the special effects where they're done, they're smart.
Yeah.
The special effects where they're done here, it looks like they went all in on a couple, and then the other ones are.
It's like, no, come on, stop.
College trials, let's say. A lot of green screen, we thought.
That train scene is like
the train scene was cool.
Atrocious.
It was cool
with green screen.
It just wasn't great.
So, all right. Well, that is going to do it for us on Coffees and Conversation. But more importantly, if you or someone you know is struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, we encourage you guys to please reach out. Suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. There are 132 suicides that take place on American soil. And when you scale back internationally, there are 800,000 successful suicides. That is one death roughly every 40 seconds. While we love talking about movies, it's not the sole reason we create this content. We create this content so that you, listening to this right now, can know that you have value and that you have worth. And no matter how hard today is, that tomorrow is always worth reaching for. So you guys can go to victimsandvillains.net/hope, where you guys can find resources like the Suicide Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HELP to 741-741, or find more resources at the aforementioned link, all of which are going to be in the show notes for wherever you guys are currently listening to this episode. And you guys can also pick up Invincible Dragon right now from our friends over at Wellgo USA. And again, links will be in the descriptions. But until next time, remember to keep talking nerd, talking hope, and speaking nothing else.